Hello, this is me from the end of the video. I just finished recording the reading that you're about to watch, and it takes me a very long time to get into it and start figuring out the purpose of the message that's trying to come through me this evening. So it requires patience, and I just went outside to let my dog out, and I saw fireflies everywhere, which from the message the other night are about patience. So I just wanted to say that because it's a little disjointed in the beginning. And of course, I'm not saying, stay and watch the whole thing. If you don't want to, then don't. But I'm letting you know that there are nuggets of wisdom towards the end that even for me in trying to process the energy of today, parts of the collective energies, was worth it for me to stick it out and keep doing the reading, basically. So I would hope that it would feel like it would be worth it for you to keep listening to it, even though it's long and even though it kind of, gets off to a slow start. Okay. I'm being reminded today about how I said I was going to make a video about what it means to truly release energy, people, patterns, habits. There are all these themes about letting go, moving on, leaving things behind. And even if the intention is there, sometimes people they're not familiar with the energy of even feeling into. It's like realizing that you have a sixth finger to notice that you have a pattern that is no longer serving you, if it's been a pattern for so long in some cases. I don't think I can get it together this evening to do that, but it is on my list of priorities to do a video about energy release. And what I think I'll probably do is almost like a guided meditation of sorts, or like a few different exercises, because oftentimes, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know this, but I kind of leap from lily pad to lily pad. I have a hard time staying with just one way of visualizing, because it kind of origami topples into new things when I'm thinking and visualizing and visioning on different concepts. Okay, I got messages all day today, and I don't even know if they're meant to be transmitted. First of all, I'd like to say that I posted a video in the night, I guess. I uploaded it from Italy. I never posted it. There was a lot of videos that I recorded from Italy that I ended up spiraling out into things that weren't necessarily public worthy shares. They were more personal. And I meant to string together two videos, but I think I just strung together the same video 2 times. So if you watch it, or if you go watch it, maybe you can figure out when that happens, at which point in the video that happens, and not waste your time listening to it again. And it's also a good one to put into, if you go to the settings icon in the top right corner of the screen with the video, go to playback speed, and crank it up to 1.25. I think 1.5 is a little bit too fast, but because the videos can be long, I feel like that's a good way to listen to them. All right. Okay, yeah, the first message I was thinking about today is how your worth really comes from how you feel about yourself. And there's so many things that go into that. For instance, how people have treated you, and how you started to view yourself from a young age. Also, cultural values. So many things go into that. But I'm thinking about self-esteem and confidence, and how you can tell when people have that intact. And a lot of people have it in fractured capacities that doesn't come from an integrated self or a healed self. Nobody's really perfectly healed, right? And even when you get to new levels of self-realization and self-actualization, new things come up. Other things come up to be realized. An example of that is I've done so much healing and grappling with some of the things that I've been through in this lifetime. And when I got to, why don't you find your bone? There it is. You could, yeah. When I reached a point of feeling like I had made peace with a lot of the stuff from this life, I started getting a lot of past life memories, right? It's almost like it's never done. Um, and I'm not saying I'm done healing everything from this life. No, a lot of things can't be released just once. They kind of come up repeatedly until we make peace with them and kind of move into a different phase of our beingness. And I think that I was thinking about it earlier today and getting messages around it because I was thinking about how a lot of us look to outside of ourselves for what we want to change in order to think about how that's going to result in a change in our internal state. We look at the world or the situation or the situations around us in order to think about how we can modify the external world, because then we'll feel this way or then we'll be able to do this. And that is not how it works. Creating a state internally, emotionally, and energetically is what's going to be able to have the external world change. Now, of course, it has to work in both ways a little bit. And by that, I mean like messy room, messy mind. If you're kind of in a slump, it will improve your mood or your ability to focus and function if you tidy up a little bit. But as an overall sense of self-possession and feeling confident, I think a lot of people have a little bit more of like a bipolar relationship with self-confidence. I don't know why I'm saying this, so I'm just gonna let it flow, but more so like really great days and then certain things externally can happen and knock us into a space of doubting ourselves again. And that's natural, it's part of being human, but there's an ability to cultivate like an unfuckwithable resolve so that if other people come to us with negativity, it says more about them than it does about us. And the second part of that message, I was at a stoplight. What's interesting is that like if I trace my mind back through my day, I see like exactly where I was sitting, exactly which road, even the license plate of the car in front of me. And I have to like go there in order to remember the thought that I had at that moment. And it was about being underestimated. I've been underestimated a lot in my life. I certainly underestimate other people, right? There's this natural judgment that can happen when we approach people in business transactions or personal capacities. And when somebody underestimates you in whatever way, it can trigger that self-doubt because we're wondering if maybe they have a reason for feeling and thinking the way that they are about us. And I'm not saying you will necessarily know if somebody underestimates you, right? It can be transmitted and conveyed in a lot of subliminal ways, affect, tone, body language, all of the things that speak much louder than what is actually verbally communicated between oneself and another party. Those times when things do happen that make us slip into self-doubt, what it's doing is it's showing us where we still have insecurity within ourselves, because what's possible, regardless of who you are or what it's about, is to get to a place so that you wouldn't get to a point of wondering like, is there something to their judgment of me? You know, if you've done the best you can and you're living it, you're really doing your best like as a human in general, you won't really feel this empty sense of guilt, right? This is interesting. I feel like it's a little half-baked as far as what I'm wanting to channel this message about overall. I'm like thinking about starting the video over, but I'm not going to. Thanks for bearing with me. What do I have today? Carnelian again. This is a green quartz. It's good for the heart chakra. And then selenite, of course. Okay, the other message I got today was about music and how music can, it has a way, the same way that our brain states, our brain waves, you know, those are waves, just like a sound wave. Music is very healing. Connecting with music can connect you to other people and places and times and memories, and it can help to facilitate integration. Just the same way as I was talking about needing to go back in my mind's eye in order to kind of think about what I was thinking about earlier in the day when the thought originally came to me. Sometimes if I go back, sensory nostalgia in general, part of the brain though for music, especially when it comes to like lyrical music without lyrics can still do this. But the part of the brain, it's like it triggers memories, or it can. And I'm thinking about people listening to sad songs in order to indulge in being sad, not to feel better, but to feel even sadder. I'm also thinking about how I was like 13 and 14 and I went through a lot of chapstick. I really liked chapstick, and I never used the same kind of chapstick. Once the chapstick ran out, I would use it till it was completely empty, and there was just like the little pole that the dial twisty at the bottom, the twisting dial at the bottom would raise the chapstick up. I called them like empty carcasses of my chapsticks, and I went to like with my mother, because I was 13, I couldn't drive or anything, to the art store and got like Shadowbox 3D frames, and like eventually I collected so many of them, and I remember like if I smelled one with my eyes closed, I could tell you from which dates to which dates I used that chapstick. And so I made like little plaques for them and like framed them. It was a strange thing that I wanted to do. I was thinking today too about just mental health again. Like there's so many things that I've done in my life that would probably constitute a certain level of OCD. Like I memorized the entirety of a Poland Spring. Maybe I had a dream, maybe I had a paranoia, who knows what it was. And that gets into all these, you know, mental health. It's just exhausting to think about all the different overlaps in certain diagnoses and where it just becomes, you know, a creative mind or a bored mind. My mother always used to say, you just have so much like brain power and you don't know what to do with it. So I would get up to strange stuff. I like memorized the label of a Poland Spring bottle so that if like it was facing away from you, I could be like, it starts with a mountain and then the river comes down, but I would use like, you know, really specific descriptions down to like the milliliters, the text on the back. Because I had a paranoia that if I was like kidnapped, not in a real way, it was like a party trick as a child. This is just strange stuff. I don't even know why I'm sharing this. I thought that if I was kidnapped and they, you know, maybe asked me to recite the label or something, I'd be able to do it. It was something about passing a test. But with the chopstick, right? Smelling something that activates something in your mind, like a memory. I think it's important right now, as I talked about in the reading that I did 2 days ago, healing, Four of Swords energy. Listening to music is really important right now. Different kinds of music to be able to kind of release things, even if it's stuff you've never heard before. Oh, another thing I heard today was remember who you are in like a very Lion King-ish way. And then what I was thinking about was how it's like, how can you remember who you are if you've never been truly who you are in this lifetime. It's interesting. I mean, you can ask to be shown through dreams and signs. Again, with playing with synchronicities, like asking to be shown certain things and being open to how the messages are then given to you, you know, through like people or messages, or even like things that happen on like the TV screen, like just the way that the world can reveal to you something that you were just thinking about in a way that is past coincidence, or what could be thought of as a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. Remember who you are. I'm also getting a Carl Jung quote. He said one time, "What made the minutes pass like hours when you were a child? That is the key to your life's work." Or the thing that you could do with yourself, the thing, the gift that you could offer to humanity, that would actually be that sweet spot of being able to feel like you don't work a day in your life because you're doing something that's of your passion. When you were a child, what made the minutes pass like they were hours? For me, sure, drawing and stuff, like as an artist today, but not so much. I mean, yes, I made a lot of comic books and stories, but right now I'm thinking about going outside in nature. I would like take a rake or like a shovel, just like stuff from the garage that I had no business like using, but I like wanted to have like a tool. I'm seeing one of these wands cards. It's the world. It's the Queen of Swords. Never goes the way you want it to. Can't just pull a wands card out. Like I wanted like a walking staff or something. So I'd take like a rake or a shovel, and I lived in the, you know, relatively the middle of nowhere. Hello, I love you. Oh, Bubba, you're so wonderful. So wonderful. Sorry, I was saying the other day, and I cut myself off in a video. I probably never finished my thought, but because I'm working again, they must have my attention when I come home. Excuse you. And I must give it to them. You gotta give them attention. So highly distracted today, oh my gosh. I had a lot of options of where I wanted to like go off to in nature, but I preferred this one side of my house because it was on that side of the house, the southern facing side, which was the side of the house. It wasn't the front or the back, it was the side yard. There was like this hill, and then like, you know, a grass, but then, a yard. Then the grasses got longer and more meadowy, you know, and some trees began, and it was more woodsy, and there was this little shrubbish plant, and I trotted a circle around it. So like, if this was the plant, me and my friend, actually, an equally oddball, maybe I'll just have to title this "Telling Stories About When I Was a Kid," which is something that I am always kind of doing because, a lot of us forget things about our childhoods due to trauma or dissociation because we learn to kind of, you know, shut down, and I'm not going to go into all that, but sometimes I get these vivid memories from my childhood, and I'm like, I haven't thought about that in a long time. I completely forgot that happened. And of course that can happen if, you know, one of your parents is like, do you remember? Or like whenever, you know, a sibling or something, but sometimes they just crop up for me. But anyway, her and I would run around, and this is when we were, I don't know, less than 10 years old, probably. Run around it, like chasing each other. And then it would just be funny, and we'd fall over and be dizzy. And so it had this trodden path around it, this shrub. And the other grasses were like, you know, tall around it, so that I could kind of like lie up against them and like have my shovel or my rake and like look at the clouds. And I don't know if I ever finished this thought, but this side of my house in particular, I felt like I could talk to spirit guides or angels. In fact, there was one who I connected to. I was 11 the first time I talked to him. His name was Angelo, and I asked if anybody could hear me, basically. And I heard his voice, and he talked to me, and his name was Angelo. Again, with the mental health stuff, right? A person would be like, that's schizophrenia. Well, you know, a lot of people can talk to angels. A lot of kids can. I'm not saying schizophrenia isn't real, but it's expressed differently. So I was going back to the Carl Jung quote. What made the hours pass like minutes when you were a kid? And I could say like drawing up a storm or writing stories, but for me it was a lot about, well, excuse me, madam. It had a lot to do with spending time in nature and connecting with universal life force energy. And so his thing was, that's going to be the key to your life's work. Sweetheart, this is not going to be the place for you. You could sit, no? How about just right here? Go get him. Yeah, I would not like meditate as a kid because I was a little, you know, not necessarily hyperactive. I was pretty disciplined as a kid. Like I was a good student from a young age, or at least I understood that, you know, teachers in school were asking something of us and that I was meant to listen, and I liked being able to meet a task and perform. I'm more hyperactive now. I think everybody is with like the stimulus of the world a little bit, but this type of energy. You guys are really cool. You're the best. You're the best, man. You're the best, kitty. I love you. I don't think I'm gonna post this video. Maybe. Music, nostalgia, healing. Again, the Four of Swords 2 days ago in the reading about the firefly, it was about moderation and rest. Four of Cups is about a similar thing, but it's contemplation. Yeah, music too. I'm seeing it like as helping us connect with others. The Three of Cups is a very social card of celebration. And again, with the Six of Pentacles, being able to give something to other people. It's the Hermit. Interesting. Two things emerge here: solitude and togetherness. You could say two ends of one scale or binary. Excuse the interruptions. They basically said, okay, if you're not going to play with us, then we're going to play with each other over here. Moody, moody. Yeah, I mean, so the Knight of Swords came out as well, okay? Perhaps something that exists outside of this binary that has been established. Solitude and togetherness. Knight of Swords. Moving in a method of action to be able to bring a solitude way of being into the light. Again, with the Star and the Hermit's card, you know, I see it as like moving towards something, bridging a gap. A clarification card for that. Bridging of a gap. Yeah, okay, so I would want to avoid Two of Pentacles, a choice. A choice with a material thing, right? And this speaks to spreading ourselves too thin, not feeling like we have enough time or energy to be able to do things that we found fun when we were younger. It also I'm getting like the devil energy again, like you do need to make some kinds of sacrifices. Everybody is given the same amount of time in a day, not on earth, but in a day. And you know, how early you wake up depends on how well you sleep, depends on what you put in your body, and when you go to bed, and how you treat yourself, and then what time you wake up will determine how much activity is accomplished, and all of these different interrelated parts of how we use and spend our time. And we think that there isn't time to do certain things, but really there's a choice. For instance, I get very paralyzed around needing to complete painting commissions. I wanted to come back from Italy and just like go right on up to my studio and set everything up just the way it was, and paint and paint and paint. And yeah, I'm gonna do that. It's not like I've failed that mission. But a lot of the times I'm like, oh, but it's not the right time to go dedicate myself to a painting project, when really that's me telling myself that I could make it the right time. I'm waiting for a feeling to strike that's never going to. And so then I continue to put it off. What needs to happen is I need to choose to go up there. Sometimes I do this. Sometimes I go up into my studio and I lie there on the floor, or sit in my chair, or I don't know, kind of bop around, waiting again for the inspiration to strike. Sometimes you just have to start doing things. Sometimes you just have to choose something. I don't see this quite as the Two of Swords in such a stalemate, but having a decision can become paralyzing if I'm hearing something's gotta give. Like if someone threw her another pentacle right now, would she start juggling? Maybe, she's capable of it. Maybe she'd catch it with her foot or something. But I think most people are reflexes. She'd probably drop one in order to catch the incoming one. I think I was saying something that never got close looped, but so there is a stalemateness around what I feel the message is becoming. Ah, I see the open loop. Okay, it was about the fact that I was talking about art as a child, which I did, and it did make the hours pass like minutes. But it's not going to be, you know, I would say if you're thinking about that, if you're looking, this message is for somebody who's looking for a way to align the stuff of their life, the pentacles and what they do, you know, what they can give to other people in this life from their self and how they're made and built. Align more with that. That's who this message is for. And so if you don't feel like you're living in a way, it applies to me too. I would love to be able to do, you know, I have like a dream career. I have a dream, you know, set of an ideal schedule. How would it look? What would I do at 10 a.m.? You know, how all types of suspending disbelief to be like, you know, what do I really want? And how could it look? That's what you have to start to think about. But when you go back, in order to inform how you're going to plan for that, and you look into the childhood, don't be like, well, I played soccer and I did this. I think it's much more of the unretrieved lost memories of like, what was your secret truth inside your mind that maybe you didn't tell people about? More so along those lines, like your true happiness of some kind. I remember too, the friend that I ran around the bush with, I think I did that with a couple friends. It was tag. It was just a very small closed loop tag. And her and I would go around her house when she lived in a neighborhood and I didn't. And I thought neighborhoods were the coolest thing because we could, you had neighbors and like people to play with. I had a neighbor as well, but you had to walk through the woods for approximately 10 to 15 minutes in a dark woodsy trail that our fathers maintained with the brush mowers. It got a little overgrown from time to time, but then they'd mow it down again. And when we were younger, you needed a chaperone to go through the woods. Not that it was dangerous, it was scary though. Or, we started doing it when we were a little bit older. But anyway, she's still my best friend today. And but my other friends, so going to the neighborhood, we would go around her house and take small objects like candles or basically rob her parents a little bit. We would just take little things that we didn't think anybody would miss, because when you're a kid, as somebody who loves like objects of the home, I have a lot of tchotchkes. I don't like clutter. I value every individual single thing that I have in my home. I don't believe in like excess or having too much of things. But then as I say that, I look around and I have at least 6 crystal balls in this room alone. I need them in different corners, to each their own. My point is, when you're a kid, if a kid came in here, they'd be touching all sorts of things and I'd be like, careful. And they wouldn't, know, they maybe if it was a mischievous kid, they would pocket it and take it or something, we would go around and kind of like quietly, secretly ransack her home. And then we would walk through the neighborhood and we'd write these very strange, cryptic messages to her neighborhood about like raccoons, and they'd be like fractured sentences. Like, we had this strangest sense of humor, and we'd leave the objects on people's front porches and stoops with the notes to stir up trouble and confusion. So that's the type of like, I don't know, I'm getting the nostalgia is here, music, pivoting from the internal to the outside. And I talked about this with the star card the other day, and it's been a theme throughout readings, but being able to attach your energy to something that is outside of yourself and not part of your world right now, because by nature you're taking your energy that's like closed, like this is my day, this is my schedule, these are the people in my world, this is what I do, and you're umbrellaing it out. I'm seeing an octopus. They're incredibly like gushy. Like if an octopus's tentacle can fit through a space, its whole body will be able to fit through that space. That's not relevant. That's just a really cool fact about octopuses. But when you are able to attach your energy to something that's not part of your life right now, but you might like it to be, not in a fearful way, right? People do this all the time when it comes to things they fear and don't want to happen. But to do it in a way that some people would deem childlike or wishful thinking, it's actually harder. I don't want to say that to just be discouraging, but it's harder to take seriously and commit to, but the rewards and the benefit of doing it are just so much greater than being like, well, this isn't here yet, this hasn't happened yet, but what if it did? We're acting against things that we're afraid of that haven't even happened, and then by nature, you're making it real in your future because you're responding to something. You're like you're tracking onto a timeline where you've made real a fear that hasn't happened yet. That's how so many people live their lives. And I mean, I totally get like counseling and coaching about needing to do things and planning for the future, but it can be done in a different way. It can be done in a different way, and a lot of people don't take what I'm talking about seriously, in that to fluffle, extend, expand, when you think of something in the future that hasn't happened yet and you decide that you want it to, a condescending voice would be like, well, you can't, whatever, who's to say it's going to happen? It's all about like where you're tracking, like the energy of the present moment, a bulb of a flashlight. The beam of the flashlight is the path that I will walk to get to the future event, which is the surface that the light from the bulb is hitting off of. This is like mechanically, energetically supported. So it's just the same. It's just the same. Now the duration, the experiences, all of it's very pliable and stuff, and it has to do with then how you move through space and time to accommodate that expanded sense of belief, be it a fear or something that can inspire you to move in a way that expands your world in a positive manner. So when you do this, if you were to do this, I'm just taking kind of a theoretical subject and walking them through this right now, okay? If it doesn't resonate with you and you're not really understanding what I'm talking about, then just go do something else, I guess. It's okay, I won't take it personally. I probably won't even know, and that's okay too. I don't know what I'm doing. What day is it? It's Thursday, July 13th. July 15th, July 17th, July 22nd. There's a couple like cool days coming up. July is cool, August is cool. July 26th. Anyway, if you want to be living in a space, and I said so many things to like scoop into what I'm trying to say. I said this about myself, where I feel really good about my life and I've come a very long way and I've worked really hard, and I used to have some really bad qualities. I said this long ago. I said I had to accept that I was the bad character in a lot of people's stories, not just a couple, like many. And it was for a lot of reasons, I'm not like letting myself off the hook. There was people who influenced me, things that happened to me, and then I did things to others. Hurt people, healed people, heal people. And while I love everything I've changed about myself and everything I've had the courage to face and do differently, I still want more for myself. I'm very happy with where I'm at, what I have. It doesn't mean I don't go without struggle and concern and anxiety and worry. I'm constantly trying to make sure that I can, rise to the challenge of my life. It just got crazy outside, like incredibly blustery. I like it. It's giving me the impression that I was talking about in Italy around the elements of like the earth in the summertime is more sensitive and vulnerable to being stirred up by winds, gale force winds. Things are being stirred up right now, okay? But what I was going to say is that I relate to what I'm saying, because even though, life is long, I'm relatively young, I've decided, I've been told, I've been shown, I have a big mission on earth. And I used to be like, that can't be from, like, people say that you're not supposed to, okay, so like, I was talking the other day about that pink fuzzy journal I used to have, and it gave me this feeling, and I was like, I just basically want to be able to do all of the things that I'm good at and that I like, and for my job, for my life, and for that to be enough. And I never let go of that, and it got awkward. It got to a point where people are like, no, really, what do you want to do with your life? Like, when are you gonna grow up? And so I stopped talking about it because I was like, I mean, that's kind of still where I'm at. Hello. What's good, honey bunny? I know it's a little stormy, but it'll be okay. He doesn't like storms. He doesn't like storms. Honey. Why don't you go to your bed? Okay, I'll be done soon. Go on, sweetheart. There's no thunder yet, so that's nice. Go on. It's beautiful outside. The clouds are pink and crazy, and I was like, I should show, but I don't want to. I'm annoyed with myself. If I was watching this video, I would be like, this, you can't keep a thought together. But I'm also being like told and shown, and I've known this, and it's part of why I was like, I don't know what I would do with a YouTube channel. I won't be able to handle that because I'm so all over the place. But it's training, number one. It helps other people know that it's okay not to be perfect, and also just for me to be like, what's the risk? What am I risking here? People are gonna be like, this is not a good video. I agree. That's okay. Does it mean that all of my work is not worthwhile? No, doesn't mean that. So anyway, I've gone through a lot of like needing to accept that what I see for myself and what I want to do is real, and almost it's outside of myself. I pray a lot to be able to do good in the world, to basically to let the will of God work through me. I think that everybody, when they're doing something that's truly their material passion on earth, and in, you know, however many ways, I don't think, you know, I think that if someone's a writer or an artist or a musician, it's not even that simple. Everybody has their own special, you know, spin on it, or they're two things, or they're three things, and that combination has never been done before. So I've spent several years trying to self-validate my own dreams and mission, and so things are great, but I want them to be outstanding. And so I'm constantly doing this process of taking what I was talking about, where I look around and I have this world and I have this, you know, semi-temporary residence, and people and, you know, networks. I was talking about that map with the golden threads that go everywhere. This is why I think it's so special to treat everybody like they could matter a lot to you, because you can meet somebody at the airport, or, you know, I had really cool conversations with my taxi driver who took me from the villa to the Roman airport. These connections, right? There are people that have impacted my life and I don't even remember their name, and I don't even remember, you know, I have no way of getting in touch with them, but like, these are the things that create your world, your worldview, your ability to hold and balance things. Your world can be as big as you let it be, and if you shut things out, then it won't grow. But you can also grow your world by addressing the internal state and taking your energy and like ballooning it out and being like, I'm gonna accommodate this, whatever it is, a new trajectory. Again, taking like something that is tracking direction. What is it called? A tiller and a rudder on a sailboat. Okay, so you're turning. Well, I don't quite like that example, because when you push the tiller one way on a sailboat, the boat turns the other way. And I like to see things as lining up, but sailing always didn't make that much sense to me because of that. It can, ow. All over the place today. And I said this too, I was like, messages, there's, now the thunder's starting. It's okay, baby. It does a lot, even if you don't do anything. If you do this in your mind, then you can, if you think something, if you think about something, what do you want to do? What do you have to offer? What could it look like? What did I enjoy when I was a kid? You know, what would it mean to be like for free again in some way? All of us are chained up a little bit, you know, somehow. There's something, somebody, some memory, or, you know, even if it's a trauma-based, blocked, dissociated thing that we don't even know how to recall. You know, I don't even know when I got shut down. Maybe that's it. But there are ways to free ourselves. Sometimes you don't even need to know and identify the root in order to be like, it's there. There is a limitation. There is a block. What would it look like if I didn't have it? And then once you think that, mental, you pull up the emotional quotient of that, and how would it make me feel? Ooh, this is cool. I hope somebody didn't give up on watching this message because it's making sense to me now. It's going back to elemental energy, but also what I was talking about with like nostalgia and things triggering the sensory memory. So when you think about it, you then bring up the emotional quotient of what that could be like, and you get very, 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 very detailed. So like if you want to, I'm seeing a beach, so if you want to be on a beach, we'll just make it really simple because I feel like I tend to over explain, and you get where I'm at so far. If the vision was to be on a beach, you would not only think about like the sand and the way it feels, but the way it sounds. Would there be gulls? Would there be like kids laughing? Would there be wind? What would the temperature of the air be? The velocity of the wind? Like, do you want to be absolutely wrecked by winds and have your hair go everywhere? Or do you want them to be like kind of light? Are you like holding anything? Who are you with? Like, you get incredibly detailed about the sensation of all of it, because the more connections that you can make with these different types of sensory touchstones, your brain doesn't know the difference. This has been scientifically proven. Your brain doesn't know the difference between that and something that you're actually experiencing. So it's way more powerful than people think it is. And then if you continue to go there, you know, to the dream, to the vision, whatever it is, you know, maybe eventually you're like, wow, I see more details. I see more than one day or one way or one project. I see a whole business I want to start, or a whole... I had 2 blooms last night. I'm a late night thinker. I'm an all-day thinker, but at night I tend to have a different quality of thought. And this dream that I've been talking about, my like life's work, I mean, whatever it is, whatever it means, it's got a lot of parts to it. I've learned to hold it like as this thing and think about it, and there's different parts of it that I like to visit in my mind and in my heart, in my little fantasy world. And I marinate on it and I treat them equally, you know, like little plants that I'm tending to. Like I've got, you know, this beam, this flashlight, my present moment, my current energy. I project it out intentionally. I spend time with my daydreams to water them and tend to them. And I do it regularly, but sometimes they plateau in that they don't become anything more elaborate. There's no new details. And last night I saw 2 new offshoots. Like I'm seeing the octopus again, like fluffing out its body. Like it became one specific part of what I want to do with my life and my work. Showed me like 2 more secret back rooms, trapdoors came down that I had never before considered. And this is a testimony to the fact that it will never, your ability to kind of expand and create your world, if you let yourself and you allow energy to flow, and gain momentum around that, it'll be easier to do it, it'll be more enjoyable to do it, and it will never stop happening. It will never stop happening. It's very, very cool. I'd like to, the next decade of my life, I'd like to just do a ton of stuff, accomplish a lot. The decade of my life that I'm closing out was, I mean, I'm an optimist and I love my life, but there were some really, really hard things. Hopefully that stuff is behind me. And I said this earlier, but like, you know, I had to learn some lessons. I had to work on who I was as a person when I was younger. And because of that harsh learning that I went through, I'm very intentional. I want to be able to ideally make people feel good about themselves. I don't, go out of my way to do that and go around coddling everybody I see, because I'm focused on myself and what I'm doing, but not to, a hyper selfish extent. I feel like my harsh learning has helped me kind of figure out, again, how to sail with the tiller and the rudder. It's just constant little adjustments that help us. It really is. When you're sailing, you have to, and it's when you're driving too. I don't have to be all like, it's a boat. With steering wheel, I remember thinking when I was a kid in the back seat, looking at my mother or my father driving, I'd be like, why do they keep moving the wheel? We're just going straight. Like, I feel like they're being dramatic. Like, they could just hold it there and we would just go, but they keep like moving it all around. And I didn't really like ever ask about it. I just remember thinking that when I was a kid. And then eventually when I learned how to drive, when I was 14, I was allowed to go to the store when I was 14 in the car and just like pick up groceries and stuff, because my mom was like, close enough, and I don't want to do it. I realized it, right? Because you have to maintain focus and make micro adjustments to be able to stay on course. Six of Cups is on the bottom, and this is about nostalgia and connections. What I'm getting right now is these are 3 overwhelmingly positive cards of connection. Positive, negative, it's not necessarily productive to speak of tarot and of energy within those terms. But I see these as being positive too, if I were to use those terms. And so what I'm saying is, I think there's healthy amounts of being alone, and there's a lot of potential in connecting with other people. What's not gonna serve us right now is like worry about the future and stress. I feel like there's this, this will. The universe is trying to help us get unstuck. So, like the cruise control, right? You can't fully, if you put a car on cruise control, you can't, it's not like, I don't even know if this is how Teslas work, but like you can't just like close your eyes and put your feet up on the dashboard and go for a nap. I think you still kind of have to assist in the car, making the little adjustments to be able to do what it's meant to do so that you don't fully crash. Can't expect the universe to, you can't, Jesus take the wheel. Yeah, I mean, there's something to that phrase, but Jesus is not your life or your soul. You're you. That would be enabling. Jesus is a teacher, and a good teacher doesn't come in and do it for you. They give you the tools so that you can do it yourself. I was thinking about Jesus the other day. And I was thinking about how I have this sense of peace now. I oftentimes, and I do think it's past life related. I don't know what I did. I think I've already said this, but when I was young, I started speaking about apostles and stuff in this like channeled way, asking what these things meant. I know I have past life around different religions, and I've grappled with that as I am now, as myself now, and all these beliefs that I have. And this sense of peace has come over me in the past few weeks around, like, you know what? All of the ascended masters, I believe that Jesus lived and was a person. And he is what is known as an ascended master. And there are many ascended masters throughout history and time and space. And they all teach the same thing if you really distill the messaging and the fables and the mythologies down to the essential nuggets. We have the King of Swords again. This is nice because they are of the same kingdom. These energies work together. I see this as an increase in momentum. But here again, this is the component of the cruise control, or the Jesus take the wheel of fortune. I just said Jesus take the wheel, right? It's almost like he could pretend to be the, never mind, the cloak, right? There's a sense of similarity in these images. And it's like, in what he's doing, I use a flashlight as or like a compass where you're tracking. He's putting forth that intention, right? It starts in the mind, you think of it, and then you feel it. And then once you bring the emotions in and you make it really tactile, what would it smell like? Would you eat? Would you taste it? Then your energy changes as a result. You don't have to do that part. That part will happen as a byproduct because that process is energetic. You're a little battery, you know, there's reactions going on. What I'm gonna do is drop in a video of neural pathways forming that I saw the other day. Yeah, I'm gonna insert it so you'll be able to see it right now. That's what's happening in your brain when you do these types of things. That's why I said you can trick your brain. It's very real stuff. This is like the assistance of the universe. It's not like this. Bad things continue to happen to us if we turn a blind eye and we are avoidant. 7 of Swords energy, 6 of Swords energy, these, you know, running away. The wheel, it just turns and turns and turns. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. But the worries that we fear, if you fear something and it's grounded in reality, then there's an ability to, well, now I'm thinking about all types of things that people fear today, because the world's kind of a scary, weird place. And I have a lot to say about that because I think that everything is designed so that people become really fearful. Because fearful people are really easy to control. But I have, you know what I'll do one day? I'll do a video that is like me going through all of the screenshots and the things in my folders that I've saved and kind of tearing them apart. But I do still fear, I don't want to get like, I don't know, banned or blocked for, who knows? That does happen. I mean, the platforms are owned by, I don't know what to say. I can't say. Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, so momentum picking up with the ability to maybe not do anything different, but I would say like flex a muscle of extending the energy through the mind, then the emotions, the sensory connection, keying this into nostalgia, giving childhood nostalgia a place to exist in the material life of today. That's a form of integration of the self. Giving yourself permission to enjoy things that truly light you up. You know, sometimes people kind of wash away their childhood and be like, I mean, I was just a kid, it didn't matter. No, I mean, you had a pretty good sense about the world when you were a kid. It's just that a lot of the times adults, they tell you who you are. They tell you, you know, they squash a lot of things out of you. And a lot of that can happen from even the most well-meaning people who love you very much, right? Our parents are only humans themselves. Okay, so it's momentum picking up and being able to hold a vision or an idea out and let your world, as you perceive it day in, day out, conceptually grow to expand something that you don't yet have. It's not something that you can create fear or worry around because it's like a safe, it's like the daydreamy thing again with the bloomin' onion. It's something that you can go to and tend to, like I'm talking about with my my goals and my dreams and my plans. That's what motivates me in life, you know? Those types of ideas. And I try not to cling too tightly, too closely to certain details, even though I get really detailed about it, because you have to stay open to how certain things happen in your each and every day. Because if you're too tightly expectant to a certain way that it could present itself to you, you know, doors of opportunity that might lead to whatever it is, then you'll say like, no, I don't want that, when really that's the next step. That's the thing in between what you're trying to get to, and you're passing it up. The nature of being able to put the dream or the idea or the thing into the future is that then you go live each and every day, and it's like the restaurant with the food thing. You know that you're moving towards it because you tend to it in your mind. You continue to extend your energy out towards it. You know, your willingness to do that without being like, it hasn't happened yet. I'm not doing things fast enough. I'm not seeing results. I'll worry, anxiety. Like, what if I'm not good enough to do this? At the end of the day, that's like the thought that everybody has about most things. It's just like our sense of enoughness. And the secret is that everybody is. We are all enough. Nobody's perfect. And it's okay to feel that way sometimes, because it doesn't mean that like the dream or the goal or the thing goes away. It just means that maybe you kind of falter off the path, that you can always dial back, right? If you swerve a little bit on the road, you know, it can be a car wreck, or it can be just a little minor thing that's easily corrected, you know? So another thing I was going to share is that I've also taken to, I don't do this so much anymore, but I've even written predictive writing? No. Like, I'll date something. I'll put a date on a letter, or like, say I want somebody to review my artwork. I will write from that person's perspective how they would talk about my work, and like from a future perspective, because I'm taking something that doesn't exist and I'm putting it out there, not just like in my diary, like with my, but it's an exercise again where you fool your brain. Like, it makes me think, it's a thought experiment. How do I want people to see my artwork? And then I'm like, if somebody looked at it, they might be like, it's really like colorful, right? Then it helps me adjust my practice and what I'm making so that it meets the description that I want to be said. So that's helpful too. I have a friend who is my business partner in this idea. And I talked about this the other day. It's important to have multiple people manifesting ideas together who get what I'm talking about, because that makes it powerful. So powerful. So powerful. And I mean, this is all incredibly personal. I'm so hesitant to share these types of things because I'm like, but what if someone can damage it or thwart it? Like, say there is somebody from my past who I hopefully not. I hope everybody's, good. I'm sorry if I ever did anything, wrong, whatever. I'm just making an example of this, okay? Say there's somebody from my past who I had a bad situation with, and they found this video one day, and they said, I hope that her this and that crashes and burns, and she never gets what she wants. And they're able to speak these negative words on my dreams because I offered them up with specificity, okay? That's why it's my Bob Dylan quote. You don't put your destiny out there where people can harm it, because I don't expect people to understand it. I already spent a significant amount of my life trying to get people to understand it, and they didn't, and it shut me down. I saw a quote like that today. It was like, stop going into the depths of trying to pull people up in order to understand what is meant for you, right? And then I kind of got into this like arrogant, like vengeful, like, well, I wouldn't expect them to understand it, right? It was an overcorrection. That was another phase that I had to kind of like come, there's been a pretty long journey around that. But what I'm trying to say is that I have so much confidence and faith, and I'm so protected energetically. I make a point of being very protected, knowing that I'm protected, communing with beings that do protect me. I send angels and guides ahead of me when I go somewhere to clear that space so that when I get there, I feel appropriate. I don't feel awkward. I don't feel like I can't manage things. Like, you believe it or you don't. But I like have joked about the past 10 years of my life, like truly Jedi mind training in some ways. a lot of light workers and spiritual people and empaths and psychics can feel this way. It's like the realest thing in your life because you have no choice. You can't really ignore it, right? Once you start to see things in a different way. But anyway, the other point about like the Bob Dylan quote, you don't put your destiny out where people can see it because then they won't get it, and you know it's not meant for them, blah blah blah. That's the tending process. It's okay to keep things close to you, private, in solitude when you're tending to them, but at the same time, this is part of what I'm doing, right? I want to be like a speaker and a teacher in some ways. I like it. I'm not necessarily shy. I get self-conscious sometimes just like everybody else does, but not enough to make me stop. It's like, oops, or whatever, you know. If that were to happen and someone were to wish bad things upon my dreams, that's like karmically that would only hurt them. I'm not the type of person that would be like, yes, I do put mirror shields around certain things that I do so that if somebody does send me bad energy or attach their, and this is, it's not like there's like, you know, little witches out there sending me spells. There are, but not me, just it happens. If somebody were to see something that I put online and feel like jealous or envious or like bleh, like that is them sending me that energy. They don't have to try. You can connect to people's energy remotely. That's why the internet and the phones make things so weird, because it's all like you can connect with something that you're not, you know. But even without the phone, you can think, you can tap into, right? I use mirror shields to protect myself or like, you know, different types of things. But a lot of people say with bad energy, like return to sender and make it hurt twice as much. That's not what I want. I want to transmute it out. Certain things, maybe on an intuitive level, I would return to sender, especially when it comes to releasing blocks and things in the body, like things that you've carried emotionally, right, for other people. And I've talked about medical intuitive healing and removing it like it's an actual physical piece of something. You take it out of your body, you fill that space, because you always have to replace something that comes out and that you release with light energy. You give it a color, you pull something else in, or else like teeth moving back in the retainer, it will, you know, you're not going to be able to fully clear. In that case, sometimes I send something back to somebody, but not to harm them, to help them be more whole. So there's a difference there. But my point is, I don't really have any fear around that. That's also just kind of like the nature of putting yourself out there. People are going to wish bad things on you. I think I'll be able to handle it. I hope that that's not the case, because my hope is that people can see that I'm really trying to do good things and help people. At the same time, I love and respect myself. And I said this yesterday, but like my Venus is in Leo. Venus is the sign of like beauty and passion and love and sensuality. Leo is like a center of attention sign. And I said, you know, Marilyn Monroe's Venus was in Leo. I like to be a little bit flaunty sometimes. It's how I was born. It's how it's how I am. Another Carl Jung quote: the year and the season that you were born will speak to the aspects of yourself. Totally. So being somebody who was born on the first day of summer, or June 21st is really the first day of summer, but I was born on 6/22 at 12:44. 6/22 doubled is 12:44, which I've always thought was really cool. I share all the things that I share about myself are so that somebody might be able to look at themselves in the same manner and be like, I wonder what, you know, what was the time when I was born, you know, and then doing all the numerological stuff, reducing those digits, like it's all connected, reducing those digits, the sum of them down to a single digit. What does that mean? Look up what that means. What's the number on your house? I'm not going to give out my house number, but the digits that it reduces down to, if I were to add them all up and reduce it to a single number, 5, number of big change. I've been here for 4 years, I think, in this one residence. A lot of changes have happened since I've been here. So all these different things, right? Something about women too. Women can be very jealous of other women when, you know, just because I can naturally exude a center of attention type energy doesn't mean I don't like giving other people attention, or, you know, both can be true. I do have one here. What is it? The Ace of Wands. A new beginning. Wands, fire, passion, but also idea again. What do we have here? And the Ace of Cups. So yeah, passion, but also emotion. Nice. And again, I'm seeing it like, right, you create the idea in the mind and then you add the emotion. You're cooking in the kitchen. So nice. I see us as being able to kind of finally, this is what I just talked about, the whole anecdote about me being like, I mean, the world showed me that if I talked about, because I wasn't ready to talk about the things I wanted to do. I wonder if this is still recording. Yeah, it is. Okay. Because I can't see the screen, and that's happened before. And then I look at it, there's no video. I've just been sitting. But again, the messages are just as much for me as they are for anybody I may ever transmit them to. Excuse me. Okay. Super, super beautiful, good stuff happening here, folks. These cards have come out several times in the past few readings from the past few weeks about defensiveness and a need to conjure the ability to be able to persevere through things, but don't beat things down or off, you know, let what I was talking about, like if you have a goal and then you live your life and you're like, but not this is going wrong. I don't like the way it's going. What if the shit that's going wrong is the way that you get to the goal? What if you do have to kind of drop something in order to be able to catch something that's incoming? I can guarantee that's how it's going to be, because guess what? If you have a goal that's outside of your current life and the way it is, the life is going to have to change in order to get to the next life, the next level, the next thing. And so there's a cognitive dissonance with that, because we're like, but I like this part of my life, or I rely on this thing. There's a comfort blanket. Oh my God. Last night I had an especially sleepless night, and I've said I was thinking about all these things and whatever. Maybe that's why I'm like this today, because I'm more under-rested than I usually am. But in the dark of the night, I was sitting in the darkness and I just said, what did I say? I just said it, and I was like, because I didn't even really think about it. I just said it. It was something like, your comfort zone is not comfortable. I said something like that. So here's the thing. He's in his comfort zone, but what are you doing, you know? The land of milk and honey is on the other side. You can't even, right? I've talked about the different types of vantage points with the Wands cards. The 10 of Wands where he's carrying them. The 3 of Wands where he's surveying the land. There's hardly any context for these guys because they can't even see outside of it. There's no context in the landscape, in the picture of the image, because the comfort zone is not comfortable. Like there's no, sure, yeah, he's on a rocky, there's a wall, some clouds in the sky. Clouded, right? So, themes. We're dropping the defenses around, and so what I said when I was like, I just said this, me talking about going through periods in my life where I tried to talk about the things I wanted to do. Nobody really got it. So I was like, maybe there's not a place in the world for me to do these things. Maybe it's not realistic. Maybe I need to wisen up and grow up and, you know, move on and let go. I couldn't, because it's my destiny. And I have a lot of spiritual support from angels and guides and ancestors and saints to help me do it, you know? There have been periods in my life where I shut it down and wisened up and grew up, and then it started to spill out of me again because it can't not. I know not everybody's life is like that, but I am just sharing, and there's going to be some type of parallel that you can like glean or take from that, even if that's not quite how it's been for you. But now I'm at a point where I can talk about it in a little bit more of like a healed, mature, and evolved way, and people will get it. I wasn't in a place to talk about it then. I would never go, it's not like I did anything wrong. I had to do that. I've humiliated myself so many times. And it was embarrassing. It did shut me down. It happened. It's probably going to happen again. I know that it's not the end of the world. Again, like the things, self-esteem and self-confidence, the things that make us doubt ourselves. I'm in love with cliches, but shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. Yeah, I mean, that's super rosy and idyllic. Sometimes you fall for quite a while. Shoot for the moon. You'll land somewhere. And once you land, you'll get back up. Or you can rest for a while, you know? I'm just saying that I don't regret that, because it helped me, you know, I now have the contrast looking back on that part of my life to be able to be like, younger version of self. You weren't ready and you didn't know it. You thought you were, but you had to realize the ways that you weren't in order to equip yourself with them to be able to kind of move through. And I'm not like totally ready and everything's happening. No, I'm still growing and evolving and learning every single day. That's the beautiful part of it. But now I'm not like, when's it gonna happen? When am I gonna get to, you know, this part and this part? It's not like that anymore. And I'm not worried that other people are gonna, you know, swoop in and steal my dreams or do it first or something. I remember being a kid and looking at all the celebrities and being like, why isn't anybody, like, why are they all, like, even the things that people wear, I'd be like, she's got all of the money essentially to anything you want to wear, anything, all custom this, custom that, and that's what you're picking? Not to be judgmental. Of course it's a little judgmental. But my point is, it made me sharpen my desire and my attunement to what I would choose if I had the opportunity to do that, and what I would want it to look like. And I used to be worried that someone would like, I'm going back to the Harry Potter Patronus thing again, where it's like, whatever, if I don't do my dreams then someone else will. I'm just gonna grow up and wisen up and get a real job. And you can do both at the same time, right? I have a real job, I think, I try. And, you know, I have a day job, right? And I can still work on my dreams of being more self-sufficient, being able to travel and not, you know, kind of work for myself. I can still work towards that. These are like this amazing thing that I'm waiting to unveil, okay? So just like one last time, take this in, take it in. The defensiveness, there's not really much of a world of surrounding. The comfort zone is uncomfortable. It's like they know it, but the Plato's allegory of the cave, it's like they don't even care to go outside because his whole life and duty is about keeping people and things out. And his is like almost like this responsibility of perseverance of like, well, I have to. But super big, beautiful, blessed new beginning. The universe is guiding it. Momentum is picking up in our ability to be able to do this with our energy. The time is ripe? Do both of those words work in this situation? For manifestation. Rife with or ripe for. In contrast, from those guys with the wands, look, all four cards, they came out together, and the reading started by having this dichotomy or this binary too about solitude and about togetherness. That's how it started. And I know it took me a little while to get warmed up. Sometimes it does. That just means that the people who actually have the patience to listen to me figure out what the fuck I'm trying to say, then that's good. Thank you. I hope, I don't know. Oh, I'm not insane. I just haven't slept very well. Such a difference. Another dichotomy, another set of 4 cards. And instead of this like defensive masculineness, and I'm not saying masculine energy isn't here. This is action, you know? It's in balance. How beautiful is that? 2 strong men and 2 strong women. The yin and the yang. So the sun is the ultimate card of happiness. It's the happiest card in the deck. It's the sun that, like, again, it's like dropping the defenses. I have reached a point where I'm not as defensive or guarded around the things that I want to do, because the sun, this energy, these are major arcana. These are minor arcana. It's literally bigger energy. It outweighs it. It outweighs it. So when things go wrong, this is what picks me back up again. You know, patience, patience, patience. The wheel will turn. Everything has its season. This is a really nice reading. Top of the deck and bottom of the deck. Wow. Six of Wands is all about success, victory, and recognition. So I love that too, because it's like I was saying, two women, right, with Temperance and the Sun, and then the Knight of Swords, the King of Swords, Six of Wands. It's like coming into to just mediate all of this and be like, you don't even have to fly into Temperance, Sun, dreamy land. This is the same world, you know? See those wands in the background of this card? That's these guys in the distance. He's outside of the comfort zone that isn't comfortable. And the bottom of the deck gives us the Lovers. Oh, it makes me want to cry. The King of Pentacles. Stable energy. Again, with like the Five of Pentacles, feeling left out in the cold, like we're powerless to be able to change the things that we want to change. Yes, I have a cough, but I also got, with that cough, this is a throat chakra clearing time. Even if it's a little tiny expression of truth, practice doing it. And by that I mean, like, sometimes if I'm getting my nails done and they're like, is this good? Is this what you want? And like, I'm a little high maintenance with my nails, because it's a marker of my mental health for me. It makes me feel put together, because of the way I used to brutalize them and always have bloodiness and painful stumps, if you will. It was not good because I had a lot of anxiety and I took it. A lot of people pick at their fingers. This isn't a unique, rare thing. Anyway, I like to have them done. It makes me feel good about myself. And sometimes I find these really fanciful things on the internet and I bring it into the salon, and I have a couple different, you know, girls that I go to, and sometimes the one that does the designs isn't available and whatever. And I kind of just want them to be happy. Like, I'm going to pay them, like, not really, you know what, I want to be happy, but they're oftentimes, I give them a design, they do it on my fingernails, and I feel like they're proud of it, and they're like, it's good, right? And I can't bring myself to be like, I feel like it's not quite what I wanted. That happened to me a few months ago, and it was so bad. It was so different than the design that I did say something. And I'm better now. These are the types of things that you can say. I'm not trying to, you know, just because you feel bad doesn't mean you shouldn't say something. It doesn't mean you're wrong. You know, there's a way to be really rude at a restaurant if somebody brings you something and it's completely not the right thing. You know, I'm just saying small little expressions. Hello. Hello. Oh my gosh. How did you get this handsome? How did you do it? 1 minute. 1 minute. Go lie down. 1 minute. Most patient. I should almost be done here so that I can play with my dog. Yeah, no, the stories about my nails aren't that interesting, and I know that, but my point is, for a long time, I would never, ever say something like that. And a lot of people would disagree with that. They'd be like, no, that's inappropriate. You should just let them do what they do. I tip accordingly to how much I ask of people, I think. And I think that's important. And how much they deliver, right? Everything is exchange, again, with money, currency, energy. And I've created a system, right? If somebody knows that I'm going to tip well, if I'm asking a lot, then they'll do a good job and then I'll tip more. There's a thing going on there. But my point is, I coughed, and what I'm seeing now is that what truly knowing, what now, At this time, being able to key into an idea of stability mentally and emotionally, moving out of a lack mindset, a feeling of lack or not having enough, regret and worry and anxiety about the future, regret about the past. I mean, whatever, it's past. What do you want to do as a result of that? I'm not saying forget it altogether. It happened, you can't. I said this, like, I spent a very long time ruminating over some of the things that I did in my life when I was younger and the mistakes I made and the people I hurt and the ways that I embarrassed myself. Because as time went on, I realized it in more and more clarity. I got more and more horrified. And that shut me down more and more and more, And it's like, you can't just pretend things didn't happen, but you can't change them. So something about all of this has to do with the throat chakra. And I'm not saying you have to, do some major thing, speech, declaration, but it's just about making a small ability to honor an idea, what's going on inside of you, through your ability to speak. Something about that, and even if it's as simple as being like, I don't really like the way this one design came out, can you just like wipe it off and do it over again? Even that is like not nice enough. If I said that to somebody, I'd be like, ugh, A lot of people, and women in particular, worry about being like asking too much of people, being nice enough, or feeling like people are, that's a side note that I'm going on, but here's the message. When there's something inside of you that's true, and it's not, if somebody's really bothering you and you're like, should I say something, blah, 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 think about it. Think about why you might be feeling that way and stuff. And then, you choose to speak as a result of checking in with yourself. If there's something inside of you that's true, it can only be a good thing to say it, even if it's upsetting to someone. I'm not saying intentionally try to upset people, but I'm saying sometimes we have truth inside of us that needs to be spoken. Okay, I keep shuffling, but I just heard that that's it. That's the whole message. And Mutma is letting himself out, so I gotta go get him. Thank you for partaking in this silliness that I was in this evening. It was a good day. And what I talked about before I went on this little thing, in the middle of the reading where I was like, dates, this date, that date. Yeah, energy is really going to start changing and ramping up as it pertains to the Lion's Gate on 8/8. And we become sensitive to, we start to feel, they say the dog days of summer, this hot, hot sun. The dog star is another name for Sirius, the second sun, this other star that's quite close to Earth in addition to our solar system's sun. You're going to feel these things. It's not going to be like, ooh, I'm becoming enlightened. No, you're going to be like, I have a headache, okay? Be aware of this stuff. And take care of yourself. Drink a lot of water. It also has the potential to create a lot of really amazing spiritual experiences, and you can take advantage of it in order to manifest all of the things that I was talking about with conceiving of something, extending your energy out, tending to it on an ongoing basis, not rejecting the things that happen in your life as a result of that, trusting, moving, going where you're led, growing where you're planted, all the good stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I would just get excited. It's a nice time to be alive. It is a meme I saw the other day that made me, I was going to say laugh, but I just probably sat there and silently smirked at it and read it a few times. It said, it's a great time to be alive if you love the theater of the absurd. And that's the truth. All right. Thank you. Have a great evening. I'm just thinking if there's anything more to the astrological stuff, but it's whatever. Okay, goodbye. Have a fabulous evening. Thank you for listening to me. And like many blessings and good energy coming through the phone to you, whoever you are, wherever you are. Absolutely.